family, welcome to African Esquire TV. I'm your host, Tony Cherie. Before I get started, please do like, comment, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, but please also add yourself to my Telegram group, which is a decentralized platform where censorship's not such an issue. And also, Odyssey is a decentralized version of YouTube, so please add yourself to my Odyssey channel. So, of course, we know that police violence against African people in particular is something that is not unique to the United States. At least I hope you know that. And one of the countries that you see a lot of this happening is Brazil. And Brazil, of course, happens to have the largest African population outside of Africa. Many people don't know that because, of course, the African people are put into slums while the white Brazilians are put into positions of power and made to be the representation of Brazil. So let's look at this horrendous story of a police raid that occurred inside of Brazil, killing at least 25 people. I believe it's now 28 people, but this article, when it was written, says 25.
Incomprehension and anger in this Rio de Janeiro favela. Some 200 police officers descended on the residential area in the early hours of Thursday morning. Heavily armed, they came looking for suspected gang members. The operation became one of the deadliest the city has ever seen, one that's left families in shock. This resident says a stranger was killed in her home.
Quando os polícia pegou que viu o sangue ali, meteram o pé no portão, saíram entrando, gritando, cadê ele, cadê ele, cadê ele? Ele saiu daqui, correu para ali. Eu só tive tempo de pegar meus filhos e botar para cá, para trás de mim. E eles assassinaram o garoto aí dentro do quarto. A minha filha de 9 anos assistiu isso tudo. Minha filha nunca mais vai querer dormir dentro desse quarto.
Jacarezinho is one of Rio's most populous slums. It's also the stronghold of Brazilian criminal organization Red Command. Police defended their actions by saying their operation was to prevent the dangerous gang from recruiting teens.
A execução que houve na operação foi do policial, infelizmente. Esse foi realmente executado friamente pelos traficantes lá. As outras mortes que aconteceram, infelizmente, foram de traficantes que atentaram contra a vida dos policiais e houve a resposta e acabaram sendo neutralizados.
The local police chief added that Thursday's incursion was in line with a Supreme Court ruling, one that banned raids on favelas during the pandemic except in emergencies. But community leaders and rights groups remain wary. NGO Human Rights Watch has called for an independent investigation into the killings.
At least 25 people have been killed after hundreds of heavily armed police stormed into one of Rio de Janeiro's largest slums, reportedly targeting drug traffickers. Highlight drug traffickers because these are the things that we have to understand the imperialist system does. They use labels as a means to license them to do whatever they want to your people. So in the case, for example, of let's say AFRICOM, they'll say, well, we're there because of militants, Islamic militants. We're there because of terrorists. These are the things that they say. And we're supposed to see these words, terrorist, militant, and say, oh, it's okay. Go ahead, do whatever you want. Go ahead, kill those people, whatever, it's fine. Because that's the tricks that they play. So when they say drug traffickers, that's another thing that they use. They'll say, oh, these are criminals. These are drug traffickers. Don't worry, their lives, they were a nuisance to society, and that allows us to not feel bad or not have a conscious reaction about what is happening to the people. Local media showed live footage of 7 armed young men hopping through roofs and in the early hours of Thursday morning as bulletproof helicopters hovered over them. The report said that the extremely suspicious criminals, quote unquote, were attempting to escape from the police, okay? 2 passengers on the metro were hit by a stray bullet and 1 police officer was killed. That essentially was the thing that led to them going all out. They lost one of theirs, and we know that they don't take that too well. Videos and photos shared with Al Jazeera by residents showed grenade explosions as well as horrific scenes of corpses lying in corridors, multiple bullet holes on resident doors. This is living in a war zone. Blood-stained mattresses, clothes and blood flowing down staircases in the favela's narrow alleys. Brazilian media widely applauded the operation. They said that Rio's civil and federal police force what they did was a justified crackdown on drug trafficking and other violent crimes in the community. This kind of lets you know what's going on in Brazil, right? Because you have a community that's being terrorized, whereas you have this privileged side that's cheering for it. That's what colonialism does. They want to ensure that these people are kept in check. But human rights activists and residents and public security specialists were horrified, and they said that this attack could have been motivated by other factors. It's also important to note about this that they're saying many of the people who were killed were not even involved. I mean, obviously, we said that they reported about 7 people who were the targets, and yet 28 people were murdered at least. So this is, of course, showing you that these people show no deference to the fact that a lot of these people were innocent. A lot of these people were civilians. They were there to basically, they were there for blood. You know, they were there because their guy got killed, and they were going to take out as many people as they wanted to in an effort to terrorize these people. Now, this is not the only thing that's happening, though, because if you look at what's happening inside of Colombia, there are similar protests against police. So Colombia, of course, is another Latin American country with also having a significant African population. And of course, Africans everywhere in the world, they're poor. Africans everywhere in the world, they're oppressed. So there's a lot of protest that's going on.
Derecho a la protesta, claro, derecho a protestar, pero pacíficamente.
At least 30 people in Colombia have been reportedly killed since a nationwide uprising erupted against the government of a white right-wing president, Ivan Duque. Protesters are vowing to remain in the streets amid a deadly crackdown by police and military officers. About 800 people have been injured. 87 people are missing. In the midst of the demonstrations, which were initially sparked by a now withdrawn tax reform proposal, but they have since expanded in scope. People in Colombia are now also denouncing rampant police brutality and demanding social, economic, and political reforms. At least 15 people were killed in a massacre in the city of Cali on April 30th after police reportedly opened fire on protesters. Here we go again. We see the same thing. A right-wing government supported by the United States doing what they want to the poor indigenous populations, feeling that they have no consequence. And realistically, will they? I think the United Nations might have put in some type of inquiry for the thing in Brazil, but what is the United Nations going to do other than comment on a situation? They have comments, you know. They don't have a military. They're police forces who are, I guess they're military or funded by the West. They're not independent, and which is why they've been also found to have committed a lot of human rights abuses and have been agents of the colonial system. So where do we turn? Where we don't have anywhere to go. As Malcolm said, he said, we're trapped, we're double trapped, triple trapped. What do we do, African people? We're in the United States. We have no justice for these things. We're in Haiti. We have no justice for these things. We're in Nigeria. We have no justice for these things. We're in Brazil. We have no justice for these things. We're in Colombia. We have no justice for these things. So where do we go? And I would say we go to each other and understand that these things that we're dealing with, these are not domestic issues. These are international issues. Police brutality, which is honestly just an offshoot of capitalism. It's not the cause, it's the effect. But police brutality is something that is not domestic. It's really international. In the same way that the white supremacist hegemonic system is a global system This is a global occurrence. It's always going to happen. The only where to go is to us. And the only thing to do is to get power. Because as long as someone has power over you, they're doing everything that they can to maintain that power. And of course, maintaining power, that comes with violence, that comes with death, that comes with destruction, because that's how you're going to scare these people straight. Keep them enslaved, keep them not wanting to challenge the slave master and his relationships and how he makes a profit off of them. That's how they'll succeed. That's how they have succeeded. And until we say no more and come together with our people internationally, we'll still be subjected to these very horrific events. That is all I have on this. I would love to hear your thoughts as usual, and I will see you all in the next video.
A poem for us, the African woman. Beautiful, dark, luxurious, fearless, selfless, power. Through all the words thrown our way, we are the beautiful source, discarded, disrespected, but highly favored and replicated. We are her, she is us, the African woman. Uncompromising, steadfast, and unwavering in love. Innocent, playful, generous, and deserving. We are African women. At home and abroad, we are delicious melanin, splendid carbon. We drink ourselves to death with love and compassion, forgiving and thorough. We are African women. Join us in May for our symposium on Pan-African women.
Hey family, this is Tierney Cherie. I'm here to make an announcement that I'm very, very excited to make. I'm excited because I really think this is something that is important for our people. Otherwise, I would not have devoted so much time and energy towards it. So I finished my first book, and the book title is Fostering False Identity, the Child Welfare System's Design of Social Control of the Black Family. Now, why is this book something that I think will be very important for our community? Well, number one, it's dealing with the system of white supremacy, particularly the way that the system has targeted our children. If you don't know, our children are literally our future. Without our children, we have no future. And so understand that the system is very crafty when figuring out what to derail first. And to me, it's no mistake that the system particularly went after the Black family. If you look at what happened whenever we were enslaved by this system, and continues to go after the Black family, continues to go after Black children, continues to try to villainize African parents. So for that, I wanted to particularly talk about this subject. Now, the other thing that the book will deal with is our African identities. Why is it that our African identities are a threat to this system? Why is it that whenever we want to identify ourselves as being African, we get so much drawback inside of the Black community? I think a lot of us are not aware of the history of assimilationist thought inside of our community, this idea that we have to be close to white in order to be accepted. And so that's another subject that we delve into in this book. So I'm hoping that anyone who is, obviously, if you're a parent, a Black parent, and you really want to understand why it is that these systems are going after your children, I encourage you to read this book. I hope that it will arm you with a lot of knowledge and a lot of foresight, not just about how to protect your own children, but how to organize in your community, because that's really the purpose of the book, is to say that we have to organize among ourselves in order to protect ourselves from this white supremacist system. And then obviously, if you're an organizer in general, this is something that I think is important for you to read, because like I said, this is a subject in the Black community that we just don't discuss enough. Child welfare is not something that is going to get enough attention. People, obviously, will organize them around other causes, but this is one that is really important that I feel like we have to pay more attention to.